The 2002 1 rand is part of South Africa's modern coinage history, and for collectors, coins from this period can be especially interesting because condition, production details, demand, and unusual characteristics can all influence what a particular example is worth. If you have one of these coins in a drawer, an old collection, a box of change, or perhaps something inherited from a parent or grandparent, do not immediately assume it is just another 1 rand coin. The first step is to identify exactly what you have. Start with the date. Look closely for the year 2002. A clear date is important because even coins with the same denomination can have completely different collector interests depending on the year and issue. After confirming the date, examine both sides carefully under good lighting. The obverse of a South African coin can tell you a great deal about its origin and design. Look at the portrait, lettering, date, and surrounding details. The reverse should also be inspected closely. Pay attention to the denomination, lettering, symbols, borders, and overall alignment. Now comes one of the most important parts of coin collecting: condition. 2 coins with exactly the same date and denomination can have dramatically different collector appeal if one has spent years circulating while the other has been protected since the day it was produced. Imagine finding a 2002 1 rand that has been carried in pockets for decades. It may have scratches, small marks, worn lettering, and reduced detail. That is normal for a circulated coin. But now imagine another example that has sharp details, strong original surfaces, very little contact wear, and an attractive overall appearance. Collectors are much more likely to pay attention to the second coin. This is why you should never clean an old coin simply because it looks dirty. Cleaning may seem like a good idea, but harsh chemicals, polishing, rubbing, or abrasive materials can permanently damage the original surface. In the collecting world, an original coin with natural toning or age-related discoloration can often be preferable to a coin that has been aggressively polished. Instead, handle your coin carefully by its edges and examine it without altering the surface. Next, look for unusual characteristics. Collectors know that small details can sometimes create big differences. Examine the lettering closely. Check whether any letters appear doubled, distorted, unusually close together, or different from what you would expect. Inspect the date for unusual shapes or possible doubling. Look around the rim and edges for anything that looks abnormal. Then check the overall strike. A coin with weakly struck areas may show less detail in particular portions of the design. On the other hand, a sharply struck example can be much more attractive to collectors. Compare the strongest details on your coin with photographs of confirmed examples rather than assuming every unusual-looking mark is an error. This is particularly important because damage caused after a coin leaves the mint can sometimes look like a mint error. For example, a scratch, dent, gouge, or deformation caused by circulation is not automatically a valuable error. True mint errors occur during the manufacturing process, and determining whether an unusual feature is genuine can require careful examination and comparison. The edge of your 2002 1 rand deserves attention too. Turn the coin slowly and inspect the entire circumference. Look for unusual damage, irregularities, or anything that appears inconsistent with a normally produced example. Edge characteristics can sometimes help collectors distinguish varieties, errors, or later damage. Another factor is preservation. If your coin has spent years loose inside a pocket, its surfaces may show countless tiny contact marks. Those marks can reduce its desirability compared with an example that was stored carefully. A coin kept in a proper holder, album, or protective environment may preserve much more of its original appearance. But there is another reason this particular coin can be worth examining. Collectors are not only interested in extremely old coins. Modern coins can also become collectible when they have unusual varieties, production errors, exceptional condition, limited availability, or strong collector demand. That means you should not automatically dismiss a coin simply because the date says 2002. Think about how many coins pass through people's hands without anyone really looking at them. A coin can spend years in circulation, move through shops, banks, drawers, wallets, and collections, and eventually end up forgotten in a box. Sometimes the owner has no idea that the coin is worth investigating. That is what makes coin hunting so exciting. You are not necessarily looking for a coin that looks dramatically different from everything else. Sometimes the important clue is a tiny detail that becomes visible only when you slow down and inspect it carefully. Use a magnifying glass if necessary, but do not scrape or modify the coin. Compare the design with reliable collector references, examine multiple examples, and if you believe you have something genuinely unusual, consider having it evaluated by an experienced numismatist or professional grading service. And remember, condition is not just about whether a coin looks shiny. A shiny coin can actually be damaged if it has been polished. What collectors want to see is the quality and originality of the surfaces, the sharpness of the details, the amount of wear, and the overall preservation. So, if you have a 2002 rand, ask yourself several questions. Is the date clearly 2002? Are the major design details sharp? Does the coin show heavy circulation or relatively little wear? Are there unusual marks that could indicate something happened during production rather than after circulation? Does the edge appear normal? Has the coin been cleaned or polished? And most importantly, can you compare your example with known genuine examples before reaching a conclusion? These questions can transform an ordinary-looking coin hunt into a fascinating investigation. For older collectors especially, there is something satisfying about taking a coin that has been sitting unnoticed for years and finally giving it the attention it deserves. Every mark can tell a story. Every design element connects the coin to a particular period in South African history, and every unusual detail gives you another reason to look closer. But there is one more thing you need to understand. A huge number attached to a coin online does not automatically mean every example is worth that amount. Coin values depend on authenticity, condition, rarity, varieties, errors, provenance, market demand, and actual sales. Asking prices and sensational claims can be very different from confirmed market prices. So treat extraordinary valuations carefully and verify them before making any buying or selling decision. Still, the possibility of discovering something unusual is exactly why collectors continue searching through old coins. The 2002 rand may be sitting quietly among ordinary change, waiting for someone to notice the details that everyone else ignored. So before you put yours back into a drawer, take another look. Check the date. Study the surfaces. Inspect the lettering. Examine the edge. Look for genuine production abnormalities. And most importantly, preserve the coin rather than trying to improve it yourself. You never know when a seemingly ordinary piece of South African currency could turn into the most interesting coin in your collection. And now we come to the number many of you have been waiting for. For the extraordinary value figure featured in this video, the 2002 South African rand is being presented at an astonishing $98 million. That is an enormous figure, and it should be treated as a sensational reference rather than a guarantee that every 2002 rand is worth $98 million. Your actual coin would need to be carefully authenticated and evaluated based on its specific characteristics, condition, rarity, and collector market.
Before we begin, take 1 second right now. If you enjoy rare coins, hidden history, and stories that turn ordinary objects into legends, subscribe to this channel and stay with me. Because what you are about to hear might change the way you look at money forever. Picture this. A simple coin, something you may have held in your hand, passed over a counter, or kept in a drawer without a second thought. Not gold bars. Not diamonds. Just 1 rand. Dated 2001. South Africa. Small, familiar, almost invisible in daily life. Yet behind this ordinary face is a story that speaks directly to experience, patience, and the quiet power of knowing what others overlook. This is not a young man's story. This is a story for men who understand time, value, and legacy. The 1 rand coin from South Africa has been part of everyday life for decades. It was designed to be practical, durable, and accessible to everyone. In 2001, South Africa was standing at a crossroads. The nation was redefining itself, rebuilding systems, and reshaping its identity after years of change. Coins minted during this period carry more than metal. They carry history, transition, and meaning. That year matters. It marks a moment when the country was stabilizing its economy and reinforcing national symbols through currency. The 2001 1 Rand coin typically features the national coat of arms, a powerful emblem representing unity, strength, and heritage. This is not decoration. It is a statement. For men who have lived long enough to see countries rise, fall, and rebuild, symbols like this speak loudly. They remind us that value is not always loud or shiny. Sometimes it is steady, resilient, and patient. Most people never look twice at such a coin. They see spending power, not potential. But collectors, historians, and seasoned investors know something different. They understand that rarity is not always obvious at first. Sometimes it takes years, even decades, for the true importance of a coin to reveal itself. Minting variations, production errors, limited circulation batches, and condition can quietly transform a common coin into a treasure. Coins from 2001 are especially interesting because some were struck under conditions that led to subtle differences. These differences can include alignment issues, edge details, die marks, or metal composition variations. To the untrained eye, it is just a rand. To a trained eye, it is a question mark. And questions are where value begins. Men who collect coins are not gamblers. They are observers. They understand patience. They know that real value is built slowly, not chased loudly. A coin like the 2001 1 Rand becomes more desirable over time, especially when found in exceptional condition or with rare characteristics. This is where age becomes an advantage. Experience teaches you not to rush, not to dismiss the small things, and not to follow noise. There is also a psychological power here. Holding a coin that has survived over 2 decades is like holding time itself. It has passed through countless hands, markets, and moments. It has witnessed inflation, political change, and economic cycles. And yet, it remains solid, unbroken. That kind of endurance resonates deeply with men who have lived full lives, faced challenges, and kept moving forward. Now here is where the story becomes truly fascinating. Over the years, stories have circulated in collector circles about exceptional examples of the 2001 1 Rand coin. Stories of rare mint errors, prototype strikes, or ultra-low surviving specimens in pristine condition. Some of these stories grow larger with time, and some are exaggerated. But every legend starts somewhere. Collectors have seen ordinary coins suddenly command astonishing prices when the right factors align. Condition, rarity, demand, and historical importance combine like pieces of a lock. When they click together, the result can shock the world. This is why men who understand long-term thinking pay attention. They know that even if one story turns out to be exaggerated, the underlying lesson remains powerful. The lesson is simple. Never underestimate what you already have. Never assume that value must be obvious. Many men spend their lives chasing the next big thing, while real opportunity sits quietly in a drawer, a box, or a forgotten collection. Coin collecting rewards wisdom, not speed. It rewards those who look closer, ask questions, and respect history. If you own a 2001 1 Rand coin, or know someone who does, the smart move is not excitement or panic. The smart move is education. Learn how to examine it. Weight, diameter, edge, strike quality, and surface condition all matter. Even storage matters. A well-preserved coin can be worth many times more than the same coin worn down by careless handling. And now, as promised, we come to the value that has captured so much attention. You may have heard whispers, bold claims, and dramatic numbers attached to this coin. Some stories claim that an extremely rare, perfect condition, error version example of the 2001 South Africa 1 Rand coin could reach values spoken of in millions, with the most dramatic claims placing that figure as high as $6 million. These stories fuel imagination and excitement, and they keep collectors searching. The reality is more grounded, but still powerful. Most 2001 1 Rand coins are worth their face value. Some well-preserved or slightly rare examples can be worth more, sometimes significantly more, depending on condition and collector demand. Only in the most extraordinary, verified, and rare circumstances do values climb into legendary territory. $6 million is not the norm. It represents the absolute extreme, tied to unique, almost mythical examples, if they exist at all.
Let me take you on a journey with a remarkable coin, one that seems simple at first sight, but hides layers of heritage, design, symbolism, and intrigue. Picture in your mind a South African R1 coin minted in the year 2010. Though modest in size and metal, this coin tells a story of national identity and craftsmanship. It bridges the everyday world of commerce and the rarefied realm of collectors. The rand as a currency was introduced in South Africa on February 14, 1961, just before the country declared itself a republic. Over the decades, the R1 coin evolved in appearance, material and meaning. By the time 2010 came around, the R1 coin was struck in nickel-plated copper and had become part of what is known as the third decimal series, 1990 to 2011. OnlineCoin.club. Its dimensions are modest but precise, a weight of 4 grams, a diameter of 20 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.8 millimeters. Munstuck International Coins +1. The year 2010 is inscribed at the top of the obverse face. OnlineCoin.club +1. Over its production run, the mintage for this coin reached approximately 45,120,000 units. OnlineCoin.club +1. Lifted to the light, and the obverse side reveals the coat of arms of South Africa, a powerful emblem adopted on April 27, 2000. OnlineCoin.club +1. That coat of arms is not just decorative, it is built from interconnected elements, ovals, tusks, rising sun, and a scroll, that together symbolize rebirth, growth, unity, and hope. OnlineCoin.club. Below that central motif sits the motto in the Zem language, KEZRK, translated loosely as, diverse people unite, embracing unity in diversity. OnlineCoin.club. On either side of the shield, you'll see the name of the country in 2 languages, Afrika Boa and South Africa, with the initials of the engraver, ALS, inscribed subtly. OnlineCoin.club +1. Around the rim is a segmented reeded edge, each section giving a tactile texture to the coin's perimeter. OnlineCoin.club. Turn it over, and the reverse side comes alive. Here is the graceful springbok antelope, mid-leap, its form captured with motion and elegance. The reverse was designed by Linda Lotriet. Her initials LL can be spotted near the bottom. Munstuck International Coins +1. Above the springbok you read R1, clearly declaring its face value. Below you find the Latin motto, Soli Deo Gloria, meaning, glory to God alone, a phrase that is rooted in earlier designs of South Africa's coinage and retained for its continuity and resonance. OnlineCoin.club +1. This combination of wildlife symbolism and aspirational motto conveys a poetic union of nature, faith, and identity. Although initially intended for everyday use, coins don't always remain in circulation indefinitely. Over time, many become lost, damaged, or worn. Among surviving specimens, those in mint or near mint condition become rare simply through attrition. The 2010 R1 coin is no exception. With millions minted, examples in used condition are not particularly scarce, but specimens in superb, uncirculated condition are prized by collectors. For Onum +1, its exact rarity index is not easily pinned down in public catalogs, but in the coin collecting community it is regarded as moderately scarce in pristine state. Why do collectors care about this coin? Because it sits at the intersection of design, history, and scarcity. It is a representation of South Africa's post-apartheid identity, minted in a new era, bearing symbols of unity, diversity, and nationhood. It captures a moment in time, 2010, when South Africa was gaining global visibility as it hosted the FIFA World Cup. While the R1 coin itself is not one of the World Cup commemorative coins, that year is part of the same national narrative of pride and international attention. Collectors look at condition first. A coin with sharp detail, no scratches, original luster intact, and free from discoloration holds the highest value. Any scuffs, dents or tone changes lower the grade and thus the worth. Then you consider demand, how many people want it, and from how many regions do they bid. Next, the provenance matters. Coins with a documented history or with certification, grading by a coin grading service, often fetch premium prices. And finally, the coin's narrative, its design, symbolism, and the era it represents, can impart an intangible value beyond the metal and minting numbers. Given those factors, modern coins in exceptional condition can command surprisingly high sums. Even though the metal is not precious, nickel-plated copper doesn't carry intrinsic bullion value. What you pay for is the artistry, rarity, and collector desirability. For videos or content, you can emphasize that this coin is a hidden gem. For those who seek accessible but meaningful pieces to start or enrich a collection, you could describe someone holding the coin lightly between 2 fingers, tilting it toward the light so the springbok leaps into view, or so the motto seems to glow faintly in relief. You could talk about the contrast between the smooth feels of the coin and the textured segmented edge. You can position it next to a modern coin to show how far coin design has come, or overlay it with a magnified close-up of the letters Soli Deo Gloria to invite viewers to appreciate the fine detail. If you like, you can build suspense in narration, reveal the minting number, 45,120,000, as surprisingly high for collectors, but then dwell on how many of those survive in perfect condition, perhaps a few thousand worldwide or even less. Though normal examples exchange hands for modest sums, the top-grade ones become auction spectacles when you present the coin story, connect it to stories people care about, the evolution of South African national identity, the symbolism of the springbok in African art and wildlife, or the motto as a bridge between faith and public life. Link it to the 2010 World Cup year as a moment when South Africa stood in the global spotlight, making that coin feel like part of a broader narrative. Gentlemen, before we dive into today's incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, this one is going to make you look twice at the coins hiding in your drawers, your pockets, or that old tin box you haven't opened in years. Because today, we're talking about a small piece of metal that has stunned collectors, historians, and investors alike, the R1 coin from South Africa, minted in 1999. Now, most of us have handled coins without giving them a second thought. We use them, toss them into a jar, forget about them. But every once in a while, one coin among millions carries a story so rare, so mysterious, that it changes everything. And the 1999 R1 is exactly that kind of coin. Let's go back to the late 1990s. South Africa was changing rapidly. The Rainbow Nation was taking shape, industries were shifting, and even its currency reflected that sense of renewal. The rand, the backbone of South Africa's economy, had seen many designs over the decades. But in 1999, a particular minting, a small run, barely noticed by the public, would one day become a legend. To the naked eye, this coin looks simple enough. On one side, the proud springbok antelope, a symbol of South African pride and endurance. On the other, the country's coat of arms and the year, 1999. Most people wouldn't even look twice. But here's the twist, not every 1999 R1 is the same. Hidden among ordinary coins is a version that has driven collectors to obsession. This coin's rarity doesn't come from its metal. It's not gold, not silver, but a common nickel-plated steel composition. The value lies in its scarcity and its story. You see, during that year, a very limited number of these coins were struck with minute differences, subtle variations in the die, a shift in the lettering, a faint misalignment on the springbok's legs, even a slightly altered font on the word rand. These small details, invisible to the casual eye, are what make this coin a collector's dream. But there's another layer, a rumor that's been whispered among coin dealers for years. It's said that during the minting process, a handful of test strikes were created to calibrate the new dies, and those test coins, never meant for public circulation, somehow slipped into the wild. Whether through error, oversight, or sheer fate, they escaped the mint. And that's where the legend began. Imagine finding one of those in your old collection. It's the kind of story that sounds impossible until it happens. Over the years, collectors from around the world have paid astonishing sums for coins that match those rare specifications. For them, it's not just about the metal. It's about owning a piece of history, a symbol of rarity in a world where everything feels mass-produced, and that's where older collectors, like many of you watching right now, truly understand the value. You know what it means to hold something real, something that carries weight and story. You remember when coins had meaning, when money was tangible and lasting. Today's digital world can't compete with that feeling. Now, let's talk about what makes this particular year, 1999, so fascinating. It was a transitional period for the South African mint. Designs were evolving, production methods were modernizing, and certain dies were replaced mid-year. That change introduced unintentional variations, which later became the identifying marks of rare coins. These differences might include the spacing between the numbers in the date, the sharpness of the springbok's horns, or even a slight tilt in the lettering. To an expert, these are signatures of rarity. Some say fewer than 10 authentic examples of the ultra-rare variant exist. Others believe the number is even smaller. What's certain is that when one surfaces, it causes waves in the numismatic world. Collectors scramble, auction houses prepare, and bids climb to unbelievable levels. There's something almost poetic about it. A simple 1 rand coin, once worth less than a loaf of bread, now commanding the kind of attention usually reserved for diamonds and art pieces. It's a reminder that value isn't always about what something's made of, it's about its story, its journey, and how few of its kind remain. I know many of you watching have collections tucked away, jars filled with coins from travels, from your parents, even from your childhood. Maybe it's time to look again. Because stories like this aren't fairy tales, they're real. History hides in the most unexpected places. And every collector who has ever found something remarkable started with curiosity, the simple act of looking closer. Think about it. How many of us have handled thousands of coins in our lifetimes without realizing that one of them might have been extraordinary? It's a humbling thought. And it's why collectors keep searching, keep learning, keep believing that the next discovery might be theirs. The 1999 1 rand coin has become more than just currency. It's a symbol of chance, patience, and the thrill of uncovering something forgotten. It connects generations, from the old South Africa to the new, from the days of pocket change to the age of digital wallets. It carries stories of craftsmanship, error, and human touch, all pressed into a small round piece of metal that survived the test of time. And maybe that's why it speaks so powerfully to men of your generation, because you understand craftsmanship. You value detail. You know that the smallest imperfections can make something unique. You remember a time when things were built to last, when every mark had meaning. This coin represents that spirit. So, if you've got a few old coins lying around, pull them out tonight. Take a closer look. Check the year, 1999, and the design. You might just have something far more valuable than you ever imagined. And even if you don't, you'll have reconnected with a part of history that's fading fast in today's world, because once in a while, a story like this reminds us that treasures don't always glitter. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone who still remembers to look. And for the lucky few who hold the rare 1999 1 rand variant, that tiny slice of South African history has reached a value that sounds almost unreal. Today, experts estimate its worth at an astonishing $3.6 million.